All right, welcome to another pivot webinar here with Jerry Fetta. Guys, if you don't know me, I'm Jerry Fetta. I am the CEO of Philanthro Wealth. And if you've known me from my previous company, Wealth Dynamics, we did a merger about a month and a half, 2 months ago between Wealth Dynamics and Philanthro Investors. So we're going to have some people that are on this webinar that are from Philanthro Investors. We're going to have some people that are on this webinar today that are from Wealth Dynamics. But we're going to be working together on restoring life essentials and promoting human welfare. Okay. Now, if you're tuning in and you've never seen me before, you're not familiar with any of my stuff at all. I'm Jerry Fetta, as I mentioned, and I've been in the financial world for over a decade now. First I started as a financial advisor, doing your traditional, the stocks and the bonds and the mutual funds and all the stuff that we're told we're supposed to do. Right. And I started to realize a couple of things. Okay. I started to realize there are wealthy people that aren't doing any of that. Okay, show of hands, virtually or even just on your own. I know I can't see you, but you can put your hand up. If you realize that, where you're like, the wealthy are doing something different, right? They're doing something different than put everything in the bank or put everything with Wall Street or put everything in the retirement accounts. Thank you. You can put your hands down, right? I saw that too. Okay, you have to realize, I started in this industry at the age of 18 years old. Right. I know I look young now, but imagine me sitting down with you when I was 18 talking to you about your retirement accounts, right? But I sat down with someone and I started to see, they were a 1%er. They weren't doing any of the stuff I was talking about. They weren't putting money in retirement. They weren't, doing the traditional stuff. Part of my story is my mom passed away at age 60, right? She was my very first client and we did all the stuff by the book, right? We did the retirement accounts. We did, paying off and selling the house, getting rid of all the debt. Age 59 and a half is when we're allowed to use those things. And she got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer at age 60. And within 6 months, she had passed away. Right. And so this is one of those things that for me was very personal. I started looking at, well, what else is out there? And if you're like me, you started to venture into what we would call alternative assets. Alternative assets being things like real estate or, things like, investing in private equity funds, stuff like that, right? And so what I started looking at is with these different alternative assets, what else is out there? And I noticed very quickly that, there was good stuff and there was bad stuff in it. And I also noticed very quickly that not all of it was helping people. Right. And I was very big into helping people. I was like, I really want to be able to, look at my investments and know that I'm putting money into something that is doing a good job. It's things I'm proud of. Right. I'm contributing to, I'm supporting stuff that I would openly donate money to. Right. My investments should be the same way. So, for me, when I started to get connected with the idea of philanthro investing, again, I want to give you the definition of philanthro investing. Philanthro investing means that we're not just investing. Right? We're not just investing. We're not just putting money out with the expectation of getting a return back, as Warren Buffett talks about with investing, but we're doing it so that we can restore life essentials and promote human welfare. And we're actually emotionally engaging with the investments we're making. Right. And so that's a little bit different than the normal, like give it to a guy and hope that they put it in some stuff that makes us some money and that they do a good job and they don't lose it. And it's like, do you really know what your investments are supporting? Okay, again, show of hands. If you could pick between something that was going to make you money and it supported things that you cared about, right? Versus just putting something into just making money for the sake of making money. Who here would lean towards investing in something that would support something you care about, something that matters to you, something that you know is going to make a positive impact? Right? Thank you. You can put your hands down. The other thing I want to ask you guys before we jump into this, we talk about legacy a lot with my clients and with our members. And the topic of legacy often is looked at from a financial perspective, right? We talk about generational wealth, generational legacy, the kids, the grandkids, etc. And I want you to think about, families 200 years ago, the investments that they had, the homes they had, the assets they had, how many of those are still around? Think about that. Like take a really good minute to think about that. How many of those do you think are still around? Is the house still even safe to live in if it's 200 years old? Is the rental property still really there? Is the stock portfolio or the businesses they invested in even still around? Right? Even the dollar, I want you to think about the currency we used 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and the buying power that it had. It was substantially different than it is today, isn't it? So I want to ask you this question then. Is leaving a legacy about leaving money and assets that may or may not be around anymore, that may or may not be as valuable, or is it more important to leave a better world than the one we found? Because I know for my son, I'm not focused on how do I make his life easy? How do I give him things so he doesn't need to work or do the things that I had to do? I think that there's a lot of character built in that. Working hard is a part of life. Getting a job is a part of life. Being responsible with money is a part of life. I'm not really looking to create a trust fund baby, if you know what I mean. But I'm also keenly aware if the planet that we live on and the life essentials on that planet aren't livable or they've reduced in quality, it doesn't matter how much money I try and leave him, he's not going to have the same shot that I had. He's not going to have the same quality of life that I have. So I think that that's the real legacy. And so what I want to talk to you about today, we're going to go through a presentation on philanthro investing specifically and talk about some of the stuff that we're doing as philanthro investors. But I want you thinking with beyond your immediate needs, financially speaking, what is the legacy that you're leaving behind? Okay, is it a bunch of digits inside of a trust structure that might not even be here in 100 years? Or is it cleaner water, fresh air, an unpolluted environment, structures that will be around, right? Impacts that are going to last for more than one generation. And the problem with all this is that we're solving as philanthro investors is right now it's on a downward spiral. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today in detail, but it's up to us to change it. We've got the resources, we've got the vision, we've got the team, we've got the strategies, and we're continuing to build on this. And, it's very fitting that we're in a brand new election season. I don't care who you voted for. I think it's great that you express your opinion, you vote, but I don't believe it's up to politicians to change stuff. I think that we actually have the ability to take responsibility, to be at cause, to decide, hey, I'm going to actually make the impact I'm looking for here and not just hope that someone else is going to do it for me. Our focus is to create a philanthro world. I want you to think Disney World, right? But I want you to think of instead of rides and all these cool things, it's assets. It's the ability to help, right? It's things that are going to make a positive impact on two categories, life essentials and human welfare. Okay. Now, with that being said, I want to go into a couple of things with you guys here. And again, I want you to think about like what we just experienced in the last year. I think it's such a fitting thing that we had, this political campaign on both sides that we just wrapped up, the presidential election. And while both sides of that disagree and they fight and they squabble, the common message is this: planet Earth is in trouble, humanity is struggling. Right? It doesn't matter what side it is. That's the common message. When you boil it down, it's like, hey, there are problems that are bigger than just, day-to-day living, small stuff. It's like major things here. And if we don't do something about them, like the future projection of our lives is not going to be the one that we're hoping for. And so we've got what we want in the future. We want, better living conditions, a better planet, restored life essentials, human welfare, all of this stuff in society. Then we've got what we have today. And the trick is bridging the gap, isn't it? And so if planet Earth is in trouble and humanity is struggling, and we all have collectively enough resources to do something about it, because here's been my philosophy. There's a lot of like, like the bad guy from The Simpsons. Okay, like, oh, the evil rich people, they're taking over the world, they're ruining the planet, they're this, they're that. And those that usually say that are sitting on the sidelines, doing nothing, flowing all their money to the very people they're complaining about. Where do you think the money goes when you put it in your bank? Where do you think the money goes when you give it to Wall Street? Where do you think the money ends up when you put it in the retirement account? Where do you think, when you're in debt and you're struggling with car payments and credit cards, who do you think that ultimately lines the pockets of? So we have a choice here. We can continue to point fingers, we can blame, we can assign responsibility and causation, and we can be the effect, or we can say, I'm going to actually vote with my dollars, and I'm going to start putting my money towards the very things I care about. If planet Earth is in trouble, how do I align my finances to help fix that? If humanity is struggling, how do I lead by example and also align my finances to fix that? Right? Now, here's the rule on planet Earth. Things only get better or they get worse. Nothing stays the same. There is no, avoiding change or having nothing different. It's only going to get worse or it's going to get better. Right. And so if something only gets worse or gets better, the question then becomes, well, what causes something to get better? What causes something to get worse? Right. And it's our collective activity. Okay. Let's take one life essential, for example, water. Okay. Did you know that there actually is a huge water problem on this planet as far as having clean, accessible water, recycling the water that we have, right? Having access to clean water, having diseases that are associated with water that people are drinking the water and getting sick. Right? It's happening all over the world and we don't know about it because we can go to the store and we can buy what? Bottles of plastic water. Well, we just found out that those have forever chemicals in them. Right? So the status quo isn't good. I want us to agree on that. The way things are not good. It's not acceptable. And so that means that right now there is a series of actions, mindsets, behaviors, etc., that are causing things to get worse and worse and worse in terms of life essentials. And we need to really confront that because, if we look at this and say, oh, well, this is normal, it's acceptable because I can go by drinking water and I'm okay, everything must be peachy. And you look around and you look up just not just in your life, but around you in the world as well. And you'll see that that's not the case for everybody. You may be fortunate enough to be one of the ones that is the case for, or maybe it feels like it's the case for, but what about everyone else? Right? This game of being on planet Earth together doesn't work if most of us aren't doing well. Or if we've got a majority that are struggling while the others are like, oh, we're fine and we're not really paying attention to what's happening around us. Okay. Now, here's the other problem is that the funding isn't geared towards making things better right now. There's not enough happening. There's not enough being done with those that we rely on, the politicians, the wealthy, the ones that we're like, oh, well, they'll take care of it. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. They haven't started doing it. They've never done it. And so it's really up to us to start to make this change happen. Okay, and while all that's happening, almost $500 billion are gambled away worldwide every year. I'm going to show you guys a stat here. This is true. Right? You can Google this. What percentage of investors lose money in the stock market? Okay, you can even take a minute to Google this. 90%. So according to popular estimates, as much as 90% of people lose their money in stock markets. This includes both new and seasoned investors. Okay, now I want to take a pause right here and just discuss this really quick, right? So I'm going to unshare my screen and I want to talk about this really quick. We invest in the stock market and the traditional stuff. Why? Because we're told that that's the safe route. That's the normal route. That's what you should do. That's what most people do. That's what's secure. That's what's known. Okay. If 90% of people are losing money in the stock market, is that really true? We have two conflicting pieces of data here. Is that really true? I don't think it is. So if 90% of people are losing money and it's not true, then I want to look at the other side too. And like, okay, if I'm going to lose money, let's just call that a donation. Okay, I've done it before. I've donated money to things I thought were investments and I never got the money back. And that turned out to be just a donation. And so I'm looking at it from a donation. I'm like, is that something I want to donate to? Do I want to donate to that rich guy getting richer? Do I want to donate to bombing countries because they live on the wrong side of a border? Do I want to donate to funding pharmaceuticals that are actually getting people addicted and making them more sick? Okay, we've all heard the radio ads and seen the TV ads. Who's ever noticed that where you see the pill or the thing or the medicine and then they list the side effects? Right? And they're like, you could get cancer, you could die, you get this, you get that. And sometimes the side effects are worse than the thing that they're actually trying to solve with the medicine. Right? And it's not really handling the issue. So all this to say, if there's a 90% chance of me losing money, I'm just going to call that a donation from the get-go. And then I'm going to ask the question, is that something I want to donate to? If I lose money, am I good with the fact that the money went there? Right? Now, I had a conversation with someone the other day, one of our philanthropreneurs that's helping recycle plastic worldwide. He's an environmental philanthropreneur. Right. So philanthropreneur, this is someone that they're starting a business. They've got an idea, they've got a venture, and that venture is going to restore life essentials and it's going to promote human welfare. So I spoke with him and, he had something that he's starting that's new, right? New, could be risky, could work out, could not work out, who knows? But I looked at that and I was like, man, this is something that I would straight up donate money to. Like I was that impressed with what he was doing. I was like, this is something that whether I made money or not, I would have been proud to say, hey, I took a step in the right direction with this thing. Now, if I can get paid while doing it as a philanthro investor, all the better, right? But here's the thing is my philosophy, what I teach my clients is that the retirement thing is not a good idea. I shared my mom's story, right? So you defer your entire life savings, your entire travel and quality of life and all this stuff, and you put it off till you're 60, right? All the things we want to do and all the things we're probably going to enjoy when we're younger, and we defer that till we're 60. And then we get to 60, and it's like, okay, when you're retired, you're afraid you're going to run out of money before you die. So you're like, if I win and I get there, now there's another game of I don't want to outlive the money. So now I'm hoping I die sooner, which is kind of counterintuitive. And then plus I'm older. So all the stuff I would have been doing is like I'm not going to enjoy traveling as much when I'm 70 years old versus when I was 35 or 40. You know what I mean? So it's about living life now, not deferring it. Donating money is the same way. Making a positive impact is the same way. We tell ourselves the story of, oh, I'm not in a position to do it yet. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to put it off. And then in the same breath, we're like, I don't want to wait to retirement. Okay. You're applying the same concepts that you're saying you don't want with retirement to donating money and helping and being a philanthro investor, a philanthro donor, and making that positive impact. Oh, I'm going to put it off and defer it till later. Just like with our own lives, what if there isn't a later? Right? You don't need to look very far to see. I saw a video about a month ago, the Mississippi River, for example, used to be this giant river. It still is a giant river, but the amount of water flowing through it, the quality of that water, the cleanliness of that water isn't the same as it was 100 years ago. Right? And we're the ones that did it. It's not like the deer and the fish were in there polluting the water. No. That was us. That was human beings doing that to the Mississippi River. And it's to the point where it's starting to become an issue. Right? The Colorado River that flows down through in New Mexico, where I'm at, that is also starting to become a problem. Right? They're siphoning water out of it and they're trying to get it to flow all the way through, and it's reducing and it's reducing and it's reducing. Right? I'm targeting water just because this is stuff I looked at recently, but at some point we've got to do something. Just like we're saying, I don't want to wait till I'm older. What if I don't have the years I think I have? What if I don't have the youth I think I'm going to have? I want to act and live life now. That's great. But if you don't have a planet to live it on, if you don't have life essentials to live it with, if you don't have people who can live it with you that are also doing well, it's not going to be the same experience. Right? So I want to share my screen again and go through a couple more things with you guys. If you're a philanthro investor, I want to give you a shout out. What you're doing matters. It's helping out a big deal, and there's more work to do. So our solution is philanthro wealth, be more, do good. Right. And so we talked about a philanthro investor, someone who invests money and time engaging emotionally to promote human welfare while earning a financial return. And we can include the life essentials in that. Okay. So if you're looking at this, here's the vision that we have. Okay. So we talk about the life essentials. Okay. So our vision is we want to see all of these doing well. And I've got a description of each of them and kind of how we can start working on this. And as the CEO of Philanthro Wealth, I want to share my vision with you because you can participate, you can contribute, you can help, you can support, you can invest, you can donate, you can share our message, you can become an ambassador, there's so many avenues of your involvement on helping with this, right? But I want to just make sure we're all on the same page that this is something that matters. So life essentials and human welfare. Life essentials support our experience in this universe or in this planet of living, right? So they're essential to life. What is essential? You have to have it. Okay, you have to have it. If you don't have it, it's not going to run. If I'm missing an essential part of my car, it's not going to drive me where I need to go. Right? If I have an essential thing wrong with my health, I'm probably not going to live very long. So something that's essential isn't optional. And I want you to think of an area of your life right now. Take a second, your car, your house, whatever it might be. I want you to think about something that's very essential to you. It's like if I didn't have this thing, life would be damn near impossible or impossible from the get-go. Like I couldn't even do it. Okay, take a minute. I want you to think of that thing. Okay, now I want you to imagine that it's gone. It's gone. Now, not only is it gone, but it happened over a very gradual, slow deterioration process. Like you noticed it. You're like, huh, this isn't as good as it was the other week or the other month or the other year. And then some more time went by and you looked at it again and you're like, oh, this is a little bit worse again. And more time went by. And eventually, after enough of those times went by, it just malfunctioned or it disappeared or it wasn't there anymore. Right? Where would that leave you? And looking at it, because it's not a real thing that's happening. So looking at it as like an imagined incident or event, and you look at it and you're like, okay, I would notice. I would notice if my car started getting so worn out that I couldn't drive it. And I don't know about you, for me, if that happened, on the back end of it, I would say, why didn't I do something? When the check engine light came on, why didn't I take it to the mechanic? I would still have a car. When the tire was flat, why didn't I take the 5 minutes to go to the gas station and pump it up? Right? Why didn't I give it the care that I needed? Okay. That's true of each of these life essentials. Okay. So here's our vision. We want number one life essential we have is air. Okay. So we want a world in which the air we breathe is free from damaging particles, a world with clean air. Okay. Who's ever been, show of hands, who's ever been to a city that's extremely polluted? Right? There's smog, you have trouble, seeing, the air quality is not super high for breathing. That's a real thing. I've experienced it. Right? Some of those cities are right here at home in America. So if they're right here at home in America, I want you to think about what about the other countries that have that problem too? Okay, number two is a world in which water is returned to its purest form. Okay, guys, water is essential. Water, so air, you think about air is one of those things where if you don't have air, like within seconds or minutes, like your life is significantly impacted. Right? If you don't have water, water is one of those things where you've got less time than food. Like if you're stranded and you have no water, you don't live very long. Your body needs water. There's a lot of water in there. Right? And here's the thing with water is as human beings, and this is every single one of us, I'm not going to pick on anyone in specific here. We dirty the water more than we clean the water. Like we're in a natural liability with water. Like water is in its normal form. We show up and all of a sudden we have a magic trick where we can put it in our mouths and all of a sudden it's urine. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't drink my tap water. I refuse to. My wife refuses to drink her tap water. We know it's not good to drink. I remember growing up, I could drink my tap water. I didn't need to worry about what was in it. Right? That was 20 years ago. Okay, who else has experienced that problem? Who is like me? Show of hands where you won't drink tap water. It needs to run through a filter. It needs to be bottled. It's like, I'm not going to just drink it out of the sink anymore. Okay. Show of hands again if you remember a time when you could. Right. And if that time wasn't that long ago, that was like what, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Okay. In the scope of humanity, even just in the scope of our country, I want you to think about how quickly that happened. How quickly did that happen? 2 decades and we go from I can drink it from the sink to I won't touch it anymore. To then, oh, the solution is plastic, to then finding out, well, no, now you've got forever chemicals in your body, and those can cause serious problems with your hormones, your brain, with cancer, various things like that. Right? So we keep putting band-aids on it. Oh, let me buy a filter. Let me buy bottled. Let me do this. Let me do that. What if we just started to fix returning water to its purest form? Okay. What about this one? A world of healthy people. Here in the US, and my wife is European, so she's from France. And so she for her, it's real that the food quality over there is different, right? The preservatives aren't there, right? Like medical is different. So we live in a country, particularly in the United States, where a lot of the stuff has been commercialized. And it's weird that buying organic food now is more expensive, right? It's drastically more expensive. I want organic vegetables versus non-organic. I'm going to pay a lot of extra money to do that over a long period of time, right? What if we only just had regular good food that was healthy for us? We had a world of healthy people and we had medical that worked and we were actually solving these root issues. Our fourth life essential, a world where every family owns their home, right? So living in a house, like if you have home ownership, that does create stability. that does give you a sense of pride and ownership. That does help you build equity. Like there's a time and a place where that makes sense for people. And so that's something we're helping with is okay, let's help you do this and let's do it in a way that's not predatory, right? Like a lot of the banking and stuff that's out there related to home ownership, it actually makes people house poor. Right? Like that's the only thing they're ever going to own is the house. Right. And so if somebody's tied up with their house because they got into it in the wrong way with someone that didn't have great intentions and just wanted, interest payments every month or the biggest commission check they could make on a home sale, whatever it might be, that's actually preventing that person from becoming a philanthro investor. Why? Because the house isn't fixing those things. Number 5 is a world which we can naturally generate energy. Right? We do need electricity. We do need, heat. We do need all these different things. What if we could do it in a way that was natural and it wasn't destroying the planet while we did it? Right? Because again, it's like, when does that run out? And if we don't start thinking about solutions there, and here's the thing is that there are, entrepreneurs and people out there that have great ideas. The solutions are there, right? And they just don't have the support. They don't have the network. They don't have the funding. They don't have the investors. They don't have the resources that are needed to make that dream a reality. Right. I had a call with someone the other day and he was like, he works with a company that does water philanthropy investing. And they just found out about a group that potentially has come up with a cure for cancer. Right. And the problem is that they don't know how to get it out. And it's like the cure for cancer could be sitting on a shelf. And the person who invented it just doesn't know how to get it out there. Nobody knows about it. Nobody buys it. You know what we do know about? McDonald's. Right? We know about the latest and greatest, celebrity scandals. It's like these are the things that are needed. We need to support these life essentials. Okay. Number 6, a world full of bulletproof structures which are environmentally friendly. Okay, a great example of this is the new truck Tesla just came out with is bulletproof. Right. And I know that sounds like maybe unnecessary, but the reality is that there are countries and communities where that's needed and it's not there, right? Or there are instances of living in homes that have, electrical problems or structural problems, right? That are not environmentally friendly, and you actually lose quality of life and you lose health by being in them. Okay. Life essential number 7, a world in which we recycle plastic. Okay, so we actually have a great solution with this with one of our philanthropreneurs called Z-Loop. Z-Loop we've talked about before. They're helping actually handle this worldwide right now. Okay, and that's an opportunity that as a philanthro investor being part of Philanthro World, you're able to help out with. Number 8, I love animals. I think everyone loves animals. If you don't love animals, get off the webinar right now. I love animals. A world in which all animals are cared for. Okay, I hate seeing animal abuse. I hate seeing, you know, animals that, they don't ask for much. It's like take care of them, give them good food, give them space, give them fresh air, give them water, create a good living environment for them, and they're going to do well. I love that. Right? So a world in which animals are cared for. Number 9 would be an aesthetic world in which every artist has the space and resources to flourish and prosper. Okay. I want you to imagine a world where there's no art and no beauty. Right? It's literally just like dull and gray and industrialistic or trashy and like I don't like living somewhere where it doesn't look nice. Right? And there's a ton of artists out there that are very talented, and I can say that because I'm not an artist in the traditional sense. I'm very bad at crafty things and painting and all this. My wife is an artist. I respect the hell out of it because I see what it takes to do that. Right. And there's a ton of artists out there that need our support, and they're philanthropreneurs in their own right. And that's something we can be working on as a life essential too, because it really is one. Right. When you live in a bright environment that's aesthetic and beautiful, it does improve your quality of life. Okay. And then finally, a world without illiteracy, a literate world. Okay. Illiteracy. And one of the things that we're doing is handling that from a financial standpoint. Right? Financial illiteracy is a big deal. But beyond that, basic illiteracy is huge. If you look at how many, that live in the world that are illiterate compared to those that are literate, it's astounding and staggering. Right? Imagine, never having the resources to learn to read, never having the resources to learn to write, and how easily you could be taken advantage of or enslaved or trapped because you don't know better. You're not able to go out there and gather basic data that we take for granted. And that's out there in this planet. So one of our things is we want to create a world without illiteracy. Okay. Now, of all of these things, I want you to think about A, what is it going to take for all of this to become real? every single one of these 10 life essentials, right? This is not a small order that we're asking for here. This is huge, right? This is something that to this date, governments haven't been able to solve. The private sector hasn't really tried to tackle it. They're actually kind of doing the opposite, right? And we've not managed to crack this on a planetary basis. And that's our vision is we want to do that, right? And so if you're watching this, this goes beyond just let me put money in this so I can get money back out, right? This is you're part of a movement, right? And I'm investing in things that are going to create the effects that we're talking about here, knowing that that's creating a better world. Okay. Now, I want to share with you, if you're watching this, there's a guy that I study a lot. His name's Andrew Carnegie. Okay. Andrew Carnegie was America's first billionaire. And he was known for actually giving away almost 100% of his wealth by the time he died, right? Funding things that actually benefited the life essentials. They promoted life essentials. They restored life essentials. They promoted human welfare, right? And so his idea was this: for those that are building wealth, okay, of course you want to take care of your needs. You want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. You want to make sure you're taking care of your family and you're creating a lifestyle that you're comfortable with, right? But he said the real mindset is that if you look at your wealth and your net worth and your assets you're building as a sacred trust, I want you to think about that. A sacred trust that's going to be utilized to benefit mankind and the world around you, right? How many problems would that solve if we all started taking responsibility for it, right? Because there's not a concerted effort right now. So if you're watching this right now, my goal and my intention is that we've awakened your inner philanthro investor, right? We've struck a chord, and my message to you today is intended to strike a chord with you to say, wow, this is bigger than just retirement. This is bigger than just passive income. Sure, those things can be involved, but this is something that is actually, aimed at restoring life essentials on this entire planet. And you may have certain life essentials you're more passionate about than others. You might really be into housing. You might really be into water. You might really be into recycling, and that's fine, right? But here's my target and here's my plan, right? We're looking at creating what's called the philanthro world. And so the vision with this is as we continue to grow with you and our other members and supporters, we want to create a world that as a member, you can plug into and you have financial training, you have all of your various financial tools, you have a whole menu and array of philanthro investment options that you can plug into and get involved with. And you can do all of that from your phone. And so you're able to live your life, earn income, save, invest, all the things that we talk about, the financial basics, but very easily plug into the philanthro world. And that way, every dollar you make has purpose, right? Because this whole thing of like escaping the rat race and no longer trading time for money and all the stuff that we hear about. Okay, let me ask you this. If you don't have to trade your time for money, what are you going to trade it for? Okay, don't tell me, oh, my family, because I'll tell you what, you'll have some time with them, but after a while, you're going to drive each other crazy, right? You can't just, I'm going to retire from life and spend all of my time with my wife. She's going to be like, all right, honey, you need some hobbies. Like, this is a little bit much. Go fix something in the garage, please, right? You're going to need something that gives you purpose and passion, something that aligns with your values, right? And so if you're building wealth and you're taking each dollar you earn, each dollar you save, and you're saying, I'm running that through this philanthro world, and I'm pointing that at things that I care about, that they improve the life essentials, they bring me back an economic return, right? And that flow continues to happen. I don't think you're going to live a life you feel the need to retire from. And I don't even think you're going to care about trading time for money anymore. It's like, if your house was on fire and you're like, I don't want to keep running down to the river and scooping up water, it wouldn't make sense because you're getting the water to put the fire out, right? Your stuff is in there. Maybe your family's in there. Maybe your dog is in there. You've got a purpose. You're not thinking about, I can't wait till I can stop getting water. You're like, no, I'm actually, right now, I'm quite motivated because this is helping with something I'm trying to handle, right? Now, if your house wasn't on fire and you were just going down to a river with a bucket to bring it back up to your house, to then go down to the river with a bucket to bring it back up to your house for no reason, then yeah, I would see that. You would be like, I'm bored with this and I don't want to continue. So what I'm telling you is you need to align your money with your purposes. And our purpose is they go beyond just ourselves. They go beyond just the people that live in our home and in our immediate family, right? Because we're part of something bigger. Your family's part of a city. That city is part of a state. That state's part of a country. That country is part of a continent. That continent is part of a giant spinning rock that we're all in on together. And if someone doesn't do something about it, nobody will. And at some point, it will be too late. We will reap consequences of not having handled these things. And I think right now we can do it. Okay. So if you're watching this right now, I want to wrap it up here. If you have not checked out any of the wealth dynamics side of things yet, let's say you've been a philanthro investor, you've been on the pivot webinars, and you're like, this merger is new. I want to learn more about that. A great way to do that is you can grab a copy of my book. I'm going to give this to you for free as my gift. So if you scan the QR code, if you don't know how to use the QR code, you can also use the link below, jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. Right. And that'll give you an ability to get the book for free. You cover your shipping. We'll send the book out to you at no cost. And that's a great way to start reading and studying and learning and getting more connected up with what we're doing. Right. So the other thing is, if you are already someone that you're in the know and you want to connect up further, I want to give you my personal email. So if you would like to meet with me, if you want to schedule an appointment, if you want to learn how you can become more involved, maybe you'd love to share this with people that are in your world and in your community, email me at ceo@philanthrowealth.com. Okay, that's right here on the screen, ceo@philanthrowealth.com. I'll give you a minute to copy that down. And I would love to connect with you. What I'm looking for right now is I'm looking for those that want to take this further, right? Take it further could mean you're watching me for the first time on a YouTube replay. And you're like, what do I do next? And that's what further means. Take it further could mean you've done philanthropy investing and you're like, how do I get more involved? How do I become an ambassador and start representing this more? How do I maybe do more investing? Like, there's so many different ways we can help you. Right. But again, there's kind of two families here. There's the Wealth Dynamics family. We've been very big on financial training, financial literacy, and I want you to start taking action on life essentials. So if you're part of my group at Wealth Dynamics with the merger, that's my intention, right? If you're part of the philanthro investor side and you're like, the Wealth Dynamics stuff with the merger, this is new, Jerry's new, this is all new, then that's where I would say grab the book. Okay, get to know me a little bit more. You can follow me on YouTube as well. And either way, you can connect up with me, right? So I want to take a moment, just check if we have any questions before we wrap things up here this afternoon. Good. I don't see any questions here in the chat. So what I would like to do then is I do want to open this up, and I do these on my webinars. It's kind of my style or spin on things. I like to do live questions and answers. Right. So anyone that's on the webinar right now that's on the training, if you have a question, if you put your hand up, I can unmute your mic and I'll be happy to go live with you like old school talk radio. And we can chat more about your specific questions regarding philanthro wealth, life essentials, those types of things. I see a few people with their hands up. So I'm going to start with Carla.
Can you hear me?
All right. Carla, how are you today?
Good, Jerry. Thank you
Awesome.
for today. I actually, as you know, I am an ambassador with Philanthropy Investors. And I would like to know, because I have been an ambassador for, a few years and now with the merger and everything, and I like this new presentation as well. How do I introduce now if I have someone to the program of Life Essentials so they can get either your link so they can meet you and get your book?
Yes, that's a great question. So for those that are ambassadors, and if for those that may not know what that means, an ambassador is somebody that represents Philanthro Wealth kind of as an affiliate. So that allows you to introduce new people to us and actually turn that into your own business. We call that being a philanthropreneur in the Philanthro Wealth space, right? So philanthropreneur, you're an entrepreneur, but you're doing stuff that improves life essentials and promotes human welfare. That would include being an ambassador with us. Right. So we have a link that we've developed for the book. And so we can give you the affiliate link with the book. Right. And then the other thing is we have the wealth potential analysis. So we have a financial assessment that we've put together. And that basically allows you to, introduce someone through your affiliate link. They can grab the book. And then from there, you can also give them your unique link for the analysis, the assessment, and have them fill that out. And then they can meet with me and with my team, and we can go over their results. We can talk about their financial goals and kind of get them educated further. And it allows you to be more involved in that process. So, Carla, we can definitely set you up with that. If you can email me at ceo@philanthrowealth.com, and then I can get you all the data for that.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're
So
welcome.
I had a website. So is that the website that you're talking about, or is it going to be different?
You can actually get a unique URL. So it will be a website, but it'll be coded to your name. So that way everyone you send there, we know it's associated with you.
Okay.
Awesome. Very good. And then we have a question from Tina. Let me bring Tina on.
Hello.
Hey, Tina,
Can
how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
What is your question?
Well, what can I call it? I'm probably a philanthropist. I have an NGO, and we are helping people all around the world being very self-sufficient in regards to getting access to clean water, clean air, nutritious food, and getting behind youth for their climate action. And we have existed for 18 years. And a lot of people have been supported and able to scale and replicate one community at a time. And my question is, do I fit into your network in any way? Can you help me both from being financially illiterate to being really good at raising funds?
That could be something we can help with, Tina. Yeah, if you can email me, CEO@philanthrowwealth.com. So if you could send me an email and include some information about your group, and that way we can connect up further on it. I think we might be able to help.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tina. Good. Let me see if there are any other questions here. So again, if there's questions, go ahead and raise your hand in the side here, or you can throw your question in the chat. We have a question. How many of those areas do you have investing actions in of the circle of the areas? So we have currently 4 of them. So we have housing philanthro investing, we have water philanthro investing, we have environmental philanthro investing, and we have health philanthro investing. So those are 4 that are filled in. We have 6 more to go. And that's part of what we're doing is continuing to meet people like Tina had just mentioned that may be philanthropreneurs. They've got an idea that handles or helps one of those life essentials. And so there may be some opportunity to add those in. So currently there's the 4, and those are really great ones. And then we're continuing to work with and partner with organizations to bring in the other 6 so that we have all 10 of them covered. Let's see. We have a question about FiOS. Patrick, I see your question. I think David is going to be reaching out to you very soon via email. Okay, good guys. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have today, and that's all I have to cover. So basically what I want to challenge you on is if you're on this webinar, if you've done stuff with us already, send me an email so we can connect up further because I'd like to understand your strategy. So if you've been a philanthro investor, you've been an ambassador, we are kind of into a new era with philanthro investors and philanthro wealth. So I want to make sure if you're somebody that's been involved, I can meet with you, I can get to know you better and work with you on a strategy on what's next. If you don't know anything about any of this, again, I'll put the QR code up with the book so you can start there. And that way you can kind of work on, getting some more knowledge, getting some more information on what it is we're doing and how we can help out. And then finally, guys, we will have our pivot again next month. So we'll send out the links for that. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to have one of our philanthro investing companies on as a featured speaker so that they can actually deep dive on what they're doing and how you can help out and get involved with that as well. So that's all I've got for this month on the pivot webinar. Thank you guys all for joining, and I will see you next time.